What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. I don't know. What's up with you?
I was calling in, listening to your show. I have a couple points to kind of push back on the Trump hates America thing. Did you just change that?
Um, I mean, the sentiment is still there. It could be any topic, really.
Okay. Well, in terms of the national Trump hates America thing, he's done several things that would point in the direction of, even if you thought he made mistakes, his actions point to him actually loving America, even if you think his policies are misguided.
Well, I'll say this. Okay, so my three big points that come to my brain right away. Challenging the results of an election and still maintaining that he won the election that he lost. Because of his lies, people went to the Capitol. Many people with Auschwitz shirts and Confederate flags. Many of them beat up cops. Many of them were child abusers, and all of them were pardoned. Blanket pardon. Multiple cops lost their eyeballs. People beat the crap out of these police officers. Pardoning them, calling the cops the enemy, calling the rioters his friends is really bad. Talking kindly about Kim Jong Un, who violently tortures all of his people. Russia, whose military shoots their own people, calling Putin, Kim Jong Un, and Xi Jinping strong, saying how he likes how they rule their people with an iron fist, saying that MSNBC and CNN are illegal because they say things that are anti-Trump. That's also really bad to me. Going against like John McCain, making fun of him being a POW, like he's a legit prisoner of war who went through a lot, and Trump, neglected and disgraced that at every corner. And I just have no signs that Trump loves, the Constitution, loves what this country stands for. And yeah, I just don't know any policies Trump has done that makes me think like, yeah, this guy really cares about America.
Hmm. Well, so if I named a few things that he did, would you be open to reevaluating?
Yeah, if you have any points, we could definitely go through them.
Well, in terms of loving America, he organizes quote unquote salute to America events. I mean, that would have to be a show. And that's one example. Proclaiming a national day of patriotic devotion. The idea and quote, strengthen our bonds to each other and to our country. So he definitely loves America. He hugs the flag. So I think you missed the mark on the Trump hates America thing. We
What
could
you
talk.
just said to me, for example, would not count as loving a country. He has these events where he propagandizes a lot of different things to make himself look really good. He hugs the flag. It's all symbolic. In his actual actions, his qualities as a man, as a person, he does not treat anything in America with any type of care or understanding, or support for what truly makes this country great. He does do a lot of symbolic gestures, a lot of branding, but I could do a commercial about wanting to help homeless people. But if I go kill homeless people in my spare time, I don't really like homeless people. So like if he says he cares about law enforcement, but he's going to pardon people that beat the crap out of cops on January 6th, he doesn't really like law enforcement. He likes law enforcement only if they're pro him. So that's not true love to me.
It's not true love. Why?
Because his actions don't back it up. He does symbolic gestures. It's like a parent that treats their kid like crap and then they buy their kid like McDonald's every couple of days. Like if you treat your kid like crap most of the time, or if you don't take your job seriously, if you don't care about the values of America, it's hard to do that. It's hard to care about the real values of America. It's easy. It's easy to hug an American flag. That doesn't mean you love something or you're dedicated to it. You can go do anything symbolic. Symbolism super easy.
I mean, his whole policy was America first, make America great again. And you
That's
have
another
to.
branding. That's more branding, though. We have to talk about things they've actually done. You could have brands. That's a brand. He's a good brander. He's always been a brander, but those are brands.
What it's putting America first in terms of trade. He's doing what he believes is right for American interests.
Well, like right now,
He,
the trade wars we're starting with all of our allies. It's driving them. It's making our allies question if they should trade with America. And for the first time ever, they're looking at trade routes to open up more with China. So like globally right now, we're pushing our allies to be China first. We're
well,
giving
that's to be
China a leg
expected.
up with global trade.
We know the game that we're playing, and we have to be strong and understand the fundamentals of America. And the fundamentals of America is that we've got a bunch of evenly spaced cities throughout a very beautiful interstate system, evenly spaced, sprawling communities. Nowhere in the world can you find the grand scales protected by two oceans on each side. We are the hegemonic power for all future. And if we don't believe that, then we are going to lose this trade war. But we need people to be on board with what America is. We don't need anyone else. We are a world
We do
war south.
objectively need other countries and allies if we want to be
No,
successful in a war or trade relations, trade routes, anything politically speaking. We do need the entire world to be. I mean, at least we need allies around the world that support us and want to be a part of us. We cannot exist in isolation. America, no country. The most isolationist countries in the world are countries such as North Korea, China. Well, China's not isolationist. They
Sweden.
part of their society is isolationist, but Russia is very isolationist. When it comes, no, I mean the countries you're talking, like Sweden, is not starting trade wars with the entire world. I'm talking about the way we treat our democratic allies and the way we suck up to dictatorships. That does not put America first. And like the first America First movement was started by the KKK in America and by the Christian nationalists. And they actually were against like the U.S. getting into World War II. They used a lot of the same arguments, like it's not going to affect us. And then there we are getting attacked, getting bombed at Pearl Harbor, and there we are with aggression from Japan and a bunch of other countries during World War II. They wanted to attack us, and even it's even more true today, more than ever, with cybersecurity attacks, with subatomic submarines. The oceans do not keep us safe. It never kept us safe. It did not keep us safe during the American Revolution. It's not going to keep us safe during World War III if it ever happens. So like our allies matter, the intel we share matters, the Five Eyes matter. All this stuff is very, very consequential on the world stage, and we're starting these wars with like Canada. There's no reason right now to have a trade war with Canada at all, unless if you disagree that we should be like tariffing Canada.
I do. I think at least we should flex our muscle because we are the world's largest economic power, and we have the strongest fundamentals, and we have the strongest ethos. We are the world protectors, and we're not going
Flex our
to
muscle to what purpose though? Like
for our strength, for our unity, for the strength of our culture, for our American family.
making our allies hate us in North America. I mean, I don't think that really helps our security. I mean, North
I
America
don't.
being together is a really good thing, I think.
I think we've formed bonds with these countries in war that can't be broken with tariffs. This is small ball stuff. This tariff stuff, this is just huffing and puffing. This is not rocking the fundamentals of our country.
This is making people
Or
lose their jobs, lose their housing. Like this is causing economic distress among the working class for Canada and America. It's not just like a simple puffing our chest out. This is real stuff happening, and there's no end goal that makes America better, or that makes Canada better, or that helps anyone at all except China. Like everything right now is just helping China. It's also helping the ultra rich in our society buy up more small companies that go under when the market crashes and they have all the capital. So we're helping them when the interest rates go down. But yeah, we're not
I
really.
like that. I like that because when the market tanks, there's someone there to save it. I,
So you
I
want,
like
but they're
that.
purposely crashing the market right now so the super rich can buy up all the small businesses. I like a diversified economy that has competition. I don't want monopolies.
I don't think that's what they're trying for. I think by lowering
Well, that's what's
taxes on
happening.
small businesses, well, I think it's too early to kind of get in there with that.
When the stock
It's
market
it,
crashes to the extent that it does, all that money taken out of the market, that disproportionately is going. I know people that are impacted by tariffs. If they work for a paper company, for example, or if they work in a steel company, or if they work in any manufacturing, we actually lose jobs typically from tariffs in America. We lose manufacturing jobs because the input costs of the materials we use, we get materials from all around the world. America doesn't just have every single material here. We do need trade, comparative advantage, a bunch of different like free market systems. It does benefit. It does benefit America. There's no like indicator. There's an analysis of every country in the world, basically 150 countries over the past 130 years on tariffs, and tariffs have never resulted in economic prosperity for any country ever.
so you think that they're doing that to deliberately hurt America?
Elon Musk said before the election that there's going to be pain, that there's going to be some type of recession. They guaranteed this before Trump won. Like this is part of the Trump plan. Yes, they're purposely crashing the economy right now. Like they
Well,
they did
I
like say
think
this before they won.
like Robitussin, the medicine Robitussin.
Yeah,
It
I
like
wish we could talk about this stuff without using a bunch of analogies or slogans, though. Like you have to, like
you
you
got to go
reason
with
in
me on
like,
this.
but you reason in emotional ways, not really pragmatic ways. It seems like
No,
an
this,
issue.
this is this is a logical
Okay,
argument that
okay,
I'm
okay,
making.
okay.
Robitussin is not good for you. It sucks. When I took Robitussin when I was sick, my mom said, this is gonna suck. Here's a chaser, orange juice, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's to help. It is, to hurt to help. And if we take one step back in order to take two steps forward, I'm good with that.
There's
And I
no
think
steps
it remains.
forward being taken though. There's nothing being set up. There's no. This sounds like a cult right now. It sounds like we're in a cult right now. They're telling us to drink the Kool-Aid.
It's too, there can't be results yet because they're in the middle of this negotiation
What results could you
process.
possibly imagine? What results has Trump said we're going to achieve other than we're going to be so rich?
We're going to tariffs. So the uneven tariffs that if they're putting on us, we equalize it. Because we have an economy that's more robust than theirs, we can outlast them. And they know that. So
we have trade deals with these countries. It's not good to outlast Canada. We don't want to decimate Canada. That's not a good thing. We have USMCA, we have NAFTA, we have different policies that Trump negotiated himself and renegotiated that really benefit both countries. There's no reason to force Canada into submission.
We're in the world for America. And if you want to go to be a Canadian, then go be a Canadian.
No, it helps us to have good trade with Canada. It helps us for allies. It helps us to have allies. You just don't understand how the world works.
Do you think that Canada is not an ally?
Canada right now, in democracies, it does matter if the people hate you, and America right now is not being looked at as positive from Canadians' perspective because we're starting unnecessary economic conflicts for no reason.
What I've heard those leaders say is that they love Americans.
And they do love Americans. They do love Americans, but the view towards American leadership right now, they do. I mean, countries right now are trying to are possibly going to buy weapons from other countries like China instead of America, because if America is going to shut off weapons, if the president gets too emotional that day, if he's like cramping or something, then they can't really trust American weapons or American intel at that point. If America is going to be like unreliable.
The arms trade, is that what you want to? You want guns to flow around the world from America?
Versus China, would you rather countries align with China or America, if you had to choose?
Well,
new donation from the Deep
guns.
State.
I would want them to carry Chinese weapons
our favorite Canadian
American
streamer.
weapons.
So you'd rather the entire world go to China for
sure.
military alliances versus America. So who is America going to have as a friend if we like disconnect from every country in the world?
It's just so unrealistic. We're so plugged into these other countries, and they're so plugged into us. Is that you're falling for this anti-American? You're taking the steam out of this movement. And,
no, you're just emotional. You just look at politics like you're a kid, and you don't understand how the world really functions, and you're following this like this idea of like some type of daydream state where you think America's gonna be. I don't know. I don't even know what you imagine America's gonna be, but like there's a reason we've not had a world war for 80 years, and that's because of things like NATO. That's because of international collaboration, international law. It's because we have alliances and trade deals and all this kind of stuff. It keeps the globe more stable.
We have people like President Trump investing in military and making America the strongest military. And as long as we have the guns pointed around the world, we call the shots.
Right now, intel matters more than anything. It's not about guns. Intel and alliances matter more than just having the most guns.
It's all about guns. It's about drones. It's about guns. It's about bombs. And that's what we have.
So if countries cannot trust the U.S. anymore for military alliances, and those countries go to Chinese technology, you don't think that's an issue if America is disconnected from the entire globe, if we make an enemy with every country?
If that actually happened, it would not be good. But I don't think that's actually what's going to happen.
We're just getting closer to that. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying what's happening right now is still a big negative for us by every metric possible. The only metric that is not a bad thing is because you have some type of dream scenario. But like everything you're saying is very just like made up in your brain and your head and your emotions. I don't really know. You can't really point to any indicators of how the world works. You say I'm being unrealistic that we have to work with other countries, but we do. The world is a very small place. It's not that big. Like it's a very, very small globe, especially if a war breaks out somewhere like Europe or North Korea and Russia have threatened us with a nuclear annihilation multiple times. And they do military drills with Russia, North Korea, and China. Russia and China are allied in taking down the U.S. as the global power. So I mean, giving them a bunch of wins is I'm just not in favor of it.
Is America aligning with Russia or is America not? Because you're kind of making two claims.
According to everything Trump says is Putin messaging.
And in the other, yeah.
Everything Trump says is Putin aligned, like saying Zelensky's a dictator, for example, or saying that Russia died and deserves to keep the land that they fought for. Like all that stuff is 100% Putin propaganda, like 100%.
I mean, he's trying to negotiate a deal. So a person who's negotiating a deal is going to talk about both sides of it, and he has talked about both sides of it.
Name one thing he said bad about Putin.
I think he said he shouldn't have invaded. He didn't.
Well, he told Zelensky that he should have never gotten to the war. So he said Zelensky's the one that got into the war. So when did he tell Putin to not invade? I never saw that.
Well, he didn't invade when he was a president. I mean, just he
No,
wanted
no.
to invade.
When did Trump tell Putin to not invade? I mean,
I wasn't privy to his phone calls, but he didn't invade. So I assume that conversation was had because he invaded the Crimea when Obama was president, and then
well,
and then
like
they invaded Ukraine when Biden was president. So I see that as weak posturing and giving the go-ahead to Russia to go ahead and invade Ukraine. They didn't do that when Trump was there.
okay. Well, Trump wants to. I mean, Putin wanted Trump to win because he knew
Is that
Trump was not going
emotional?
to support
Am I
Ukraine, for
making an
example.
emotional argument?
No, you're making dumb arguments now. But like the entire point of like supporting Ukraine or not, like when Trump says that Russia has Ukraine surrounded and like Ukraine is weak and they don't have any men, they can't fight, they don't have any power, they don't have any cards, they should just submit to whatever Russia wants. That's all Putin propaganda, 100%,
Is he wrong,
100%. He is wrong.
Do you
Yes.
think
Yes. Russia thought they were going to be much more successful than they currently were. At their current rate now, it would take them like 90 years to take all of Ukraine at their current rate. Russia has been terrible. Their military is not matching up well at all. Yeah, Ukraine is fighting them back very effectively.
Well, right now, they, like Trump said, they don't have the cards, and Trump brought Ukraine to the table to agree to a truce. That showed weakness to the Russians. The Russians said no to it. That just proved that the Russians are kicking Ukraine's ass. The winning side
Objectively, that's not true.
truce. Well,
Ukraine being a smaller, weaker country and Russia being so unsuccessful has been embarrassing for Russia. Putin has an entire propaganda campaign to cover up his failures.
that might be true, but they're still kicking their ass, and they're not enjoying their life over
Ukraine
there.
is a smaller country and has taken areas of Russia. Like
Yeah,
in all
true.
standards, Russia has lost this engagement, this invasion. By the way, invasion. They have lost.
Yeah, it's a mess, and everyone wants it to end. So, and I think Trump's trying to do that, and I think you should support him in that.
I support giving Ukraine actual security guarantees, like Zelensky said. Anything less than that isn't really helping Ukraine. But spreading Russian propaganda about Zelensky, making people hate Zelensky, calling him like public enemy number one, calling him a dictator, all those lies. Those are complete lies. Those are complete lies.
If we go all in with Ukraine, then that means anytime Russia wants to go grab land, which they've been doing it for hundreds of years, taking land grabs, that means based on our agreements that we have to go in there and fight Russia. I don't think we want to do that.
Actually, if we abandon Ukraine, it actually says that Russia is allowed to take any country they want because we had a deal with Ukraine where we took away their nuclear weapons, and now if we don't protect Ukraine and don't provide aid to them, countries are going to learn not to trust the U.S. because we're going to walk back on our agreements and we're not going to help defend countries even through basic aid, which we barely gave anything to Ukraine. I know people cry about it, but we really did not give that much money to Ukraine. We are 17th in percentage of GDP. We did not give that much aid to Ukraine at all. We were made to be mad at Ukraine for no reason. Trump's entire assault on Zelensky's character, Trump's entire assault on the facts of Ukraine. Like how much funding do you think we gave to Ukraine so far in like U.S. dollars?
100 billion.
100 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well at least you don't believe the freaking Trump keeps repeating the 350 billion. So yeah, I mean most people that call in think it's that number because Trump keeps on saying that.
It may be. I mean, I'm not the one.
It's not though. It's not. No, it's not at all. It's approved through Congress. Trump lies about that.
I mean, how do you know?
Because I see the congressionally approved budgets, and you can see where the money actually goes. You can see where the money goes in America versus what money goes overseas. This is all publicly available information on usaspending.gov. Everyone can access this information.
How much money did go to Ukraine, in your opinion?
The factual number that we allocated for Ukraine was like 120 billion, and then Europe gave like 130 billion.
Okay, so I was right. Say 100 billion, 120 billion. Do you think that 100 billion would have been better for the homeless person who can't even survive or eat?
That's not really a real statement at all.
No, it is. I mean,
you could easily. There's no reason in America we make a choice to give the ultra wealthy tax cuts, and we don't give that to the homeless people in America because we make a decision to hate homeless people. Americans do not like the homeless. They pretend to care about the homeless. They want homeless people to die more likely than to give them actual support. Because if you want to tax Americans more to help homeless people, they would say hell no. I'm for it because I'm not a conceited asshole like most Americans are. But we could easily support Ukraine and also end homelessness in America easily. We could do both of those. Nothing about supporting Ukraine is hurting homeless people in America. That's not the issue with that. The huge tax cuts for the ultra big corporations is the issue with that.
I think it's going somewhere else, and it's not going to where it should be going. I mean, this is simple. And I understand, like, you're trying to, like, break it down and, like, really intellectualize it. You're a smart person. But at the end of the day, this is actually simple. Money should be for
It's not
America.
simple. It's not simple at all. That's not how global politics works. When we go that route in global politics, we get involved in world wars. That's why we stop doing that. That's why we stop being isolationist completely. I don't want to be police of the world. I don't want to go into countries and be like, we're going to bring a democracy here, or like go into the Middle East. I'm not for that kind of intervention, or Afghanistan, Iraq. But I am for supporting our allies, especially like Ukraine, just with aid. No U.S. soldiers, no U.S. troops in danger at all. Just basic aid. There's no reason I couldn't send them. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 large pizzas per year for each American that we gave Ukraine. It's really not that much funding over 3 years.
$120 billion. That's big change, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in America too, and our progressive taxation system means that if you are a working class person in America, you probably gave like $10 to Ukraine over the past 3 years in terms of total revenue, because the rich people pay most of the taxes. So if you're a working class person, you make $50,000 a year, you probably gave like $30 to Ukraine most at the highest level in America, maybe $20 to Ukraine.
It shouldn't
maybe
be.
10.
It just shouldn't be.
Okay,
And
well,
I
I disagree. I wanna, and it makes a big deal if we're gonna give up, if we sign deals with Ukraine to denuclearize them, and then when they ask us for our security guarantees that we assured them in the Budapest Memorandum in the 90s, then that shows the entire globe we're not trustworthy partners. But you already expressed that you don't understand how the world really functions like that.
Well,
do you think we could just have utopia in the U.S. without dealing with anything?
Let's go with that and say that we're undermining Ukraine and we're completely screwing them over and leaving them.
I didn't say that. We're invalidating the agreement we signed with Ukraine to denuclearize them.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I mean, at the end of the day, do you think that us reneging on that deal or backing out of it, do you think the rest of the world's not going to realize that we have a different president? Like, it's always been like this.
Well, they're realizing, and China loves it. China loves that Trump's in office. China's benefiting greatly from Trump's presidency already. Yeah, China loves it. And Russia does too.
I mean, as long as America's doing better, I'm okay with Russia doing
America's
okay.
not doing better either. We're having higher rates of poverty. We're at our nation's history for mortgage defaults, for car loan default rates. We have the highest credit card debt in American history. Housing costs are soaring through the roof. And tariffs are going to make that even worse if we really tariff Canadian lumber, because Canada has a lot of lumber, which is why we get lumber from Canada.
Yeah, good lumber too. It's hard. Builders say that it's easier to work with.
Yeah, the lumber in America, we would run out really quick, and we'd have to kill all of our national parks. But Canada has like most of the country is forests. So that's why we have mutualistic trade deals with Canada. We are customers of Canada for cheap goods. That's how our trade deals function. I mean, without oil, we would actually have a trade surplus with Canada if you took oil out of the picture. In terms of just total raw goods, other than oil, we are actually importing more from Canada than or we're actually selling more in Canada than we import, or yeah, whatever the surplus is. But the trade deficits and surpluses don't matter either. But yeah, let's end on one point then.
What point?
Whatever point you want to.
I don't know. It's good talk. You know, I think that mentality, it's corrosive. I think it'll hurt your soul if you keep thinking like this. And I wish you the best, man.
Well, I wish I was really dumb so I could live in bliss my entire life and not understand how shit works. It sounds so fun to be you. I really appreciate you calling in and giving me a peek into your life. Maybe my brain will go crazy because I understand the world and I have people like you calling in saying the dumbest shit of all time. Holy shit.